How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about a series of unfortunate events, a new series on Netflix, which premiered about 2 days ago, which consists of 8 episodes, and it's about 3 orphan children, Violet, Sunny, and Klaus, whose parents perish in a tremendous fire, and their banker, who's in charge of their internal affairs, tells them that their family had left them an enormous fortune, but they cannot get a hold of that fortune until the eldest child, Violet, comes of age. So in the meanwhile, he finds them a guardian to take care of them until that time comes, and to their dismay, it just happens to be this guy named Count Olaf who is scheming to get his hands on this Baudelaire fortune. That's their last name, the Baudelaires. And he wants their fortune. That is basically the entire series. I don't want to spoil anything, but that is the basic concept of the series. This is based on the book series written by Daniel Handler, or by his pen name Lemony Snicket. And he wrote 13 books in the series. And I remember them coming out in the early 2000s. I really enjoyed reading the series when I was younger. It was before I got into Harry Potter, and I really wasn't a fan of reading, but those books and Goosebumps, those were the 2 books that I was like, okay, I'm not a fan of reading, but I like these books. Series Unfortunate Events, really loved it. It was something different. It wasn't your traditional children's book. It was more mature and dark, and that's what I think kind of made it stand apart from all the other children's books. So I really enjoyed reading the book series. I thought it was really great. For someone who didn't like reading, I enjoyed reading it a lot. So when the 2004 film came out, I was really excited because I thought the casting choice was pretty well. I mean, I didn't know who Emily Browning was at the time, but when I saw that Jim Carrey was cast to play Count Olaf, I was really excited because I thought he seemed like the perfect actor to play this role. Now, he's been in other movies where I thought he fit the role, like in the 1995 Batman Forever. I thought Jim Carrey was the perfect fit at the time to play the Riddler. So when this movie came out in 2004, I thought, yeah, Count Olaf being portrayed by Jim Carrey, I thought that was a really great casting choice. Unfortunately, his portrayal wasn't all that good. He does classic Jim Carrey, the classic Jim Carrey we see in the 90s and the early 2000s with the weird facial expressions. It seemed like he was always playing like the same character in every movie. He needed more coaching acting-wise in all those roles, because I think he would be a good Riddler had he acted better. And I think he would make a great Count Olaf had he not been so comedic, portraying a character that we're supposed to hate. I mean, this is the villain of the series. I think that's one of the things like a lot of people didn't like about the series, and it wasn't really faithful to the book series. It kind of took certain elements of each book and kind of like shuffled the story all over the place, because the film does carry 3 books, and it does shuffle a lot of the events that happen within the 3 books. It's all out of order. When it came to this series and I saw that Neil Patrick Harris was cast in this film, it didn't really tell me anything, because Neil Patrick Harris, he mostly stars in comedies, but I was actually hoping that this would be a lot more darker and more serious, because that's one of the issues I had with the film. And Neil Patrick Harris has had some serious roles, like in Gone Girl, and I think he played that role really well. So going in and watching the first episode of this series, I was at first a little bit worried because I started seeing a lot of the same things that I saw in the 2004 film. It was very light. Mr. Poe is coming on the beach and he's telling the Baudelaire children that it's a nice day. By the way, I have some bad news for you. I'm like, oh shit, no, this I thought this was like, at that point I knew this was gonna be still comedic. And based on the trailers, you really can't tell anything. I really didn't know, the trailers didn't give away too much, which I'm glad they didn't, but I didn't know what to expect from this series. In fact, when the 2004 film came out and there was no sequel, I was a bit disappointed. I wasn't a huge fan of the film. I own the movie on DVD. It's fine. But even with that film, I wanted them to make more, because that's how much I really enjoyed the books, and I wanted to see the adaptations on the big screen. And we didn't get them, and I was thinking, okay, well, Tim Burton, this is like up your alley. Why can't you jump on board and continue this? Unfortunately, it didn't happen, and it took a while for the series to come back to life. And I think visually the film is ahead of this series. But in terms of the actual story, I think this series tries to be more faithful to the book series, which is great. Here they kind of alter some things that happen. They say it's because there was plot holes in the book series and that's why they did it. I'm fine with that as long as they don't do too much of it. Like in the first 2 episodes, which the first 2 episodes is just the first book, the bad beginning. A lot of minor things happen that aren't in the book, and it bothers me. Plus, it took me a while to get used to this kind of style that they were doing because it was very comedic still, and it took me a while to get into it. And I don't think the first 2 episodes are the best episodes of the series. So, for those who have no idea what the series is about, and didn't see the 2004 film, for instance, this might come across as a very weird children's series that you might not really want to get into. So the first 2 episodes are not the strongest. I wasn't a fan of the first 2 episodes, but once we got to the 3rd and 4th episode, which is the Reptile Room, which is the second book in the series, that's when things started picking up. The series got better and better, and I really... by that time, I already got used to this humor that they were relaying through the entire series, and it got more interesting because we got to see Neil Patrick Harris in all these different disguises trying to fool the new Guardians, plotting to find a way to get his hands on that fortune. And I think another thing that the series does really well, and it's something that the book series didn't even do, is give personalities to Count Olaf's henchmen. His henchmen in the book series, they're just there. They're not given any personality. We don't really know a whole lot about him. I think the hook-handed man, they tell us a little bit more about his character, like in the 11th book. There's 13 books in the series. Look how long we had to wait to find a little bit of information or some kind of personality, some kind of sign that these aren't just robots. The henchmen get bigger roles. We get to see their personalities. The hook-handed man, the 2 powdered-faced women, the man that looks like neither like a man nor a woman, the big bald guy with the sharp nose. We don't get to know their names, really. They never talk about them, really, that much. Not all of them. Like, they never say the man that looks like neither like a man nor a woman. But I just know because I've read the book series. So I think anyone who's read the book series is really going to appreciate this series because it does a really good job bringing this series, the book series, to life with some minor changes. But I think that is expected. I think it takes a while maybe to get into it because it is comedic, which is something I never thought this series would be. It does fix issues that were wrong with the book, and they even start to bring up certain elements that we later find out in the book early on in the episode. It kind of foreshadows the things that are going to happen in future seasons. There's going to be a second and probably 3rd season. Here, there are 8 episodes in the first season, and every 2 episodes is devoted to one book in the series. If the series stick with this format, the second season will deal with books 5, 6, 7, and 8. Which are the Austria Academy, the Arsat's Elevator, the Vile Village, and the Hostile Hospital. The Hostile Hospital isn't like the best book. It's one of the weakest books in the series, but still, I'm more looking forward to actually the 3rd season because that's when it really gets good. And I think by that time, the show will have a bigger budget because a lot more things happen later down in the road in the book series with books 9, 10, 11. Maybe not so much 12, but the 13th book, which I guess they would squeeze into the last season, which would be season 3, if they stick with that format. All the books that are leading up to this are all good, too. I'm just kind of exhausted rewatching the same thing, so maybe that's why I didn't enjoy the first 2 episodes, which are just... because it's a bit slow. There is a lot of exposition. It's just introducing what this series is about. I've seen it so many times, and it's just a story that I already know by heart. For anyone who's read the series, they're going to enjoy the series, I think. It might take some time to get used to it, but I think they will enjoy it. I think this thing has its audiences. Some people might watch and think, what is this? This is so weird. Is this for children? What is... I don't get it. And again, it's not for everyone, but I think it's a pretty well done show. I think the casting choice is pretty good. I didn't know how it was going to... Judging by the 2004 casting, I really grew to like the cast. Emily Browning and Jim Carrey. I thought, and even Meryl Streep playing Aunt Josephine. I thought, I liked the cast in the film. I thought the film just had its issues. Here, I was a bit worried. Neil Patrick Harris does a good Count Olaf. He has moments where he's funny. And then there are moments where he is very sinister, and I really like that because that's what I want to see. I want to see the sinister, the dark side of Count Olaf. I want to see this cruel man that I got when I was reading the book series. And it was good to see that Neil Patrick Harris can portray that Count Olaf that was in the book series. Now, they've introduced one additional character in this series that isn't in the book series, and I'm just curious where that's going to go. There's also another thing that they're doing that it's kind of bothering me, but I'm just interested in seeing where it's going to go, and it involves the Baudelaire's parents. I'm not going to go into that. I don't want to reveal any spoilers, but something to do with their parents, which is something that we never got in the book series, and I'm just wondering where they're going with it. Because it can't, I mean, the whole thing with Series Unfortunate Events is, or this series isn't supposed to have happy endings, so I'm just wondering where they're going with this whole parents thing. I'm interested in seeing the direction that the show is going to go, because when it stuck to the source material, it did a really good job, and I think that the minor changes that they're doing isn't going to hurt the overall story, especially for those who love the series. So I don't think they're going to be doing like super drastic changes. I do like these minor things of giving personalities to characters that we didn't really know a whole lot in the book series. I thought that was a really good decision on their part, because there are issues with the book series, but they don't jump out at you when you're reading the book necessarily. So I think they thought ahead and and they were looking for loopholes in the book series, and they found some, and they decided to make some changes, and I'm fine with that. It's a pretty good show. I think people definitely do need to give it a try. Watch maybe the first 4 episodes. If you still don't like it, it's probably not for you, but I think it's a pretty good show. There are better shows on Netflix, like The Crown, for instance, and House of Cards and stuff like that, but it's still nonetheless a good, lower budgeted series, and I'm really looking forward to the second and especially the third season if it does get renewed. It wasn't great, could be better, but they're off to a great start with this series. Also, one other mention, the narrator who plays Lemony Snicket in the series is Patrick Warburton. At first, I didn't like his style of narrating in the first 2 episodes, but then I kind of got used to it. So I think I need to go back and rewatch this series, because I think the first 2 episodes kind of bothered me. It's going to take some time getting used to this kind of style of storytelling, because it's very different. But otherwise, it's a pretty good show. Do check it out if you have time. It's not the best thing you're going to see on Netflix, but it's certainly a nice addition to a Netflix original. So anyway, guys, that is my review of A Series of Unfortunate Events, the Netflix original. If you have any thoughts, please comment your thoughts down below. If you've seen the series, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up down there on the bottom, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time for more unboxings, reviews, and movie news.